what we've done is we have created a very simple start page where we're going to select one of the existing routes and any users who we want to come along on this walkabout in addition to the currently registered or active user. And then we're building this begin route button, which has several different steps to it. This add as a guest, I think, or add a guest will, that we can fill in anytime. That's just to create a kind of temporary user with the flag is guest set so that we can fill people in if they're not already in the system. So, I mean, if we wanted to, we could always add any other information we wanted to for the walkabout, you know, a note or a name for it or a purpose, you know, if the walkabout is a safety check or a, you know, scheduled thing or who knows, you know, we could obviously make this walkabout table as rich as possible. So what we're then going to do, so the very first step of this begin route button is to create our new walkabout record. So that's saying on the, you know, it's 9:30 on the 23rd of December, I walked around, you know, the factory. Great. So on that action, we have selected that we wanted to return the identity, the ID of the newly created record. Now that is what the database automatically populates into walkabout ID. Now, if it doesn't populate, that's just because we haven't told the database that that is the primary key or the auto-generated primary key of the table. That's a side step problem. We'll just sort that out, but that's just, you know, configuring the database. So with this link here, store identity for add new walkabout record, that is then going to mean that this invisible label, and I've made it invisible by toggling here invisible so that the user doesn't see a random, you know, ID like 50 or 112, whatever, in the on their page. Yeah. That is now going to be the key item of information for the two of the metadata tables that we are going to have, and this is where it becomes a sort of a many-to-many web, a mesh. So this table is going to be walkabouts _ join _ POIs, and I'll color code it red just so that we know, because it doesn't already exist. So it doesn't need to be done. So what we're going to do here, and I always give everything a row ID just so every single table has an automatically generated primary key. But what we're then going to do is we are going to link the POI ID. Do we call it POI ID?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So the walkabout then, and actually, in fact, it's even a bit more than a join, which it's actually the visits, because we're going to have like a visit date or visit time or something like that. And in fact, any comments or potentially stuff like that if we wanted to. So this table is going to be populated initially. If we have selected a standard route, what we're going to do is we're going to get the POIs currently assigned to that route, and we're going to automatically create, let's say there are 10 POIs on the route I've selected. So it's the factory floor, let's say. We're going to, this table, we are going to generate 10 rows for this particular POI. Now, the nice thing then, of course, is that is, I'm just going to add is skip.
I'm realizing, Andrew, that actually on this workflow, there may be an existing point of interest on the walkabout. It might not be a new one that we're looking at, and there may be a overdue action or known non-compliance.
Yep, exactly right. So that's exactly why we are doing this table. Is because, as you say, when we start, we're merely using this selection in this drop down as a template to automatically generate the rows in this table to begin with. However, then in the course of the workflow of the walkabout, which will be on the next section, we can skip something, add a new POI. Indeed, we'll have the ability then to add a custom, a temporary POI perhaps, or maybe from there actually we more have the ability to add a POI, because we could do that two ways. What you were just saying, we could either in this POIs table, we could actually, for instance, have a like temporary POI underscore name. So instead of linking it to POI ID, we could actually just say, no, it's just a temporary one. However, well, we could do that, but let's just, for the sake of this initial cut, leave it off. But we can always add it in, because we could always, for instance, add in to the POI table, and maybe there's a flag in the POI that has like, is it a temporary one? Is it a whatever? So the way we're going to do that then is, as I mentioned, this begin root button. The very first step is creating the walkabout record. So that's this fundamental pin in time. What I'm then going to do is actually I'm going to let's bring in, for instance, a show data. Now this show data is going to be hidden. I'll tell you in a second. And this is going to be our standard root POIs.
Yeah.
So what this is going to do is, if we select a standard root, I want to get all the POIs into this show data, and I'm then going to use the show data to generate the lines for here. So the show data, basically all it really needs is the POI ID. It doesn't actually need anything else technically. And it's going to obviously filter on our root. It's going to filter this, and we just need to say that indeed the root. Oh, I tell you what, that makes sense. It looks like POI. There we go. In fact, I'm slightly wrong. My apologies. Because actually the way I've linked it here would be if the POI was directly in a root, but it's not. We've done it right, or we've done it right. That in fact, POI IDs can be on many different roots. Of course, that makes sense. So actually, so this show data is absolutely not. In fact, I can right click delete, or I can just click the mouse wheel to delete that link. That is not where this is going to get its data from. It's actually just going to get the POI IDs that this
the root selects. Exactly. On that root.
Exactly. And of course, just for us, what I normally do is I normally actually leave this visible while I'm developing it, so I can make sure that I'm seeing the right thing.
Got it.
So what we want to do here then is, so this is, let's say 10 rows, for instance. So we want to allow multiple selections. We can, for instance, make it, it doesn't really matter if it's read only because it's invisible. But what we want to do, this is the key thing. What we want to do is we want to say, if there's no, basically when we populate it, just select everything. And that's the key. And now we can have, in our begin root, we've got what we need. So we can have another action, which is, again, we're going to add data. So this is then going to be add standard root POIs if one is selected. Actually, I tell you what, I'm going to make it even smarter, just since we're recording. So I'm going to just right click here, insert before. Let's do a quick check. So what I'm going to do is have we selected a standard root. So that this check is just going to be let's just compare this drop down. So this is our standard drop down. So if it's not equal to blank, so this is just a check basically.
To make sure they've actually selected
exactly. And on this we just run this if the previous action was successful. And it'll just skip it. So it's just neat. And then what we're going to do is, so we've already said use value for add new walkabout record. I could probably, for neatness, I could actually say use value for this one as well. Right, you can see that's getting a bit lengthy, but still, this then is the other over here is the other one I want to use. So, and you see, so yeah, we've got the two. And actually, what I would tend to do as well is I would restrict the action to the specific table. Just it really belts and braces. We have multiple ways, so it's being restricted to this table, but also we're specifically choosing the design elements because, of course, this one already does have a store data, but they're actually not store data. Why? Oh yeah, no, there is store data, but we want, in fact, for this one, we are storing the data into. Have I done the wrong thing? Yes, I have. I'm so sorry. I was talking too quickly. Many apologies. I was cross task. So actually, we're in fact what I'm talking about, creating this the standard root POIs. We're not actually interested in the root ID. That is merely to get our list of POI IDs.
Yeah.
What we now want, in fact, I saw the moment I look at this table, is this is the table we're trying to populate.
Yeah.
And in fact, we haven't got a root ID. What we want is our walkabout ID. So actually, this particular, I can double click this particular link where we have, we can either delete this link, or if I wanted to, I could just realize I've linked it to the wrong element, and I can just change it like that.
Yeah.
So now this, of course, sorry, now it's obvious. This is our created walkabout ID.
Yeah.
That stores its data. This is our POI ID.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we store the data, store selected values, and I always just make sure I link the column you're getting with the column you store. So now let's just have a quick look at this. So this is then, as you can see, so it's storing that, and what we can do is, so at the moment visit time is blank because the things that on the next page then, we can then see, basically we'll show the created this list, and of course it can be blank, we could add to it, or indeed it might actually say, right, here are the 10 that's on the route you selected, and that'll be the thing that people can use to navigate perhaps. And of course they can then choose to go their own way.
Yeah.
So understood. We would then do the same thing with the users. So this is just for completeness. So another one. So what I'm going to do, this is a slightly different one because I'm going to do this separate. So I'm going to say add current user in as a participant.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to also do another check to see have we selected any additional participants.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is just going to compare. Compare this checklist, see if it's not blank. And the reason I'm going to do that is as just neatness, basically. So then if we have selected any additional participants, we're going to, if so, then add additional participants.
Yeah.
And we run that if the previous action was successful.
Yeah.
So as I say, so this is now being really, really just quite specific. It's kind of cool. But so this here is the
so what you've done there is massively reduced the amount of clicks, haven't you? Because it's basically, you just a couple of drop downs and then begin.
Exactly. And this single button is doing all the lifting of creating the walkabout, linking in the participants, linking in any standard route POIs. Yeah, exactly. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to addressing these two actions in chronological order. So first of all, let's restrict our add current user in as participant, because this we always want to do. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So we'll use this label for add current user, and so the walkabout ID is going to there, and this and just there's store special value. So for the current user, what we want to go to the user ID column is the user ID.
Yeah.
So as you can see, so for this table, we now have, sorry, I'm going to do that. So this button is basically when we are storing the current user, we're storing the walkabout ID and the user ID.
Yeah.
Then we want to kind of almost duplicate that. So we also want to restrict our additional participants action to that same table.
Yeah.
We'll add a separate use value to that. So this is all just for neatness. Technically, we could do without it. I just prefer having it just the way I like to do it. So that's fine. And then obviously the checklist then is what we're going to use for these additional participants, and we want to put them for data. There we go.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've now got two actions. So it'll add the current user, because I kind of figured that look, current user is always on it, and then it will see have we selected anyone else. If so, it'll add. So yeah, we could have many rows potentially for this particular walkabout to say who's on it. Now, if we wanted to, we could get smart. You know, it might be that the current user doesn't go. It might be that some people join, some people leave. We could have, you know, that sort of metadata if we want to. This might be overly complicated.
Yeah.
Anyway, good. So now what we have then fundamentally is our base setup. Excellent. So the final thing then is we will go. So this is our, you know, start. Right. Our start section, and then we'll have another section that, and this is proceed or something. I don't know. It will probably be visible. So this then will say you are currently on a walkabout. You know, here are your here is your schedule. You know, whatever you want to say. You know, you can obviously come up with the.
I say, what if I say route plan, because it's a
route.
Yeah,
absolutely. I like it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just the bare bones. So we could use a show data. We could for instance use a repeater panel for this. You know, make it look a bit pretty.
I think show data now, and we could improve as we go along if we need to.
Yeah. So what this So what this will do is this is basically looking at this POIs table. So we use our identifying column. Obviously here then we want to display the name. So I'm going to create a join to the POIs. It's just me being lazy. So there's our, you know, and anything else we want to get the image that, I don't know, you know, we could, for instance, also at this point get the number of alerts or whatever the issues that are. Is it the issues that whatever it is that?
So I think obviously we're going to have a table linked to this, aren't we? That says previous issues, basically.
This is exactly right. So basically, in this show data, we can show as much, you know, last visit dates, you know, all of these different things.
Yeah.
And then obviously you'll be able to select from this show data.
Yeah.
You know, to say, let's call it name. You know, you have to select, and then you know you've got your, you know, whatever you want to, whatever basically your actions here. So let's for instance just say we want to say, you know, make a note, for instance. I don't know, this is just completely made up. You can just basically put whatever functionality you want to have, you would then have it here, and this then will then, you know, update this table. So for instance, if you wanted to have a note column, you know, so you know, that would be this would be the note for. So this table here. I'm just going to use F4, or we can go right click and set for any name. So this is the record of visit to this POI on this walkabout.
Yeah. So let's just cover that, Andrew. I'm just going through the chart here. So basically, what you could do is, so what they're saying is you approach the first POI, take a picture of the POI.
Yeah.
Type or choose a drop down, site area sub. So that's all that stuff. Classify picture conformity or non-conformity. So is it a picture to show it's working or it's not working? And then add an action or choose from drop down, basically. So that's what they're saying you would do when you approach a POI. And and then back to the previous POI, or so you go to the next one and do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Now, basically, if there is an outstanding an existing non-conformity, as in an outstanding issue, you're then sort of saying, well, so the question is basically, are there new issues, or is this are you taking a new report, or is it an existing issue? Is basically where we're with this.
Yep, exactly. So this is the sort of stuff that you and Kieran can work through, because obviously that is just a question of filling in whatever functionality.
Page.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then because we're so fundamentally in terms of the walkabout, we're basically there, because what we would have as well though is we would have maybe up here, for instance, we have the button that says like add add additional POI to root, or whatever, and that then would could go to a section, or it could be a pop-up. If we're using version 4, we could, for instance, do a section for now to say
new POI.
Exactly. Or so either new POI, so add POI to walkabout.
Yeah.
And here you could then have conditional panels to say, like, is it a existing POI or new POI?
Yeah.
And then then you could have a drop down or a conditional panel, and then you'd have your either you selecting a POI, and then it'll add, you select the POI and you just add the root to this table, or indeed you have a thing to automatically create a POI. And when you add the POI, you would use this same function here. So when you're adding your
select
POI,
the root,
exactly, and you then be able to automatically add it in. So you're creating a POI, and on the same button you'll add it into this particular walkabout.
Yeah, and then you go back to proceed, don't you?
So exactly right. Exactly right. This is exactly spot on, and it'll appear in your list. So you would just, on your button, you would just have a link to refresh this show data.
Yeah.
Actually, I could probably even do that from this begin root button. In fact, I would probably want to go. I want to refresh this show data, so that when we've created our root, it's going to populate the thing. Oh, and of course, on this begin root, I forgot. You're absolutely right. The last action of this begin root is to go to the proceed section.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So when you get to the proceed, so let's just go through the logic of the workflow then on this, if I may just briefly. So you've got your list of POIs if they exist. If they don't exist, you add a new one.
Yeah.
On this form, you're then going to have the options to check out the existing ones, add new ones, take photographs, all that sort of stuff. And then presumably, once you've completed it, then you go from here to a complete page.
Yep, exactly.
Which again could be, I guess, at the top or the bottom of the form. It could still be at the top or in the right corner, could it? Or
it really could be. So you could just have another button, and this one is finish walkabout, whatever. And I'd say that'll then go to another section where you have any task. Do you final note, or it might just, for instance, in the walkabouts table, we'd probably have a new column which is end time or end date.
Exactly. I guess my other thought then is it sensible to have a drop down underneath the show data to give you the actions of what do you want to do at this point?
Exactly.
And then one of those could be a make note, which could be in a conditional panel, couldn't it?
Exactly right. Yep. Do exactly. Review. Review issues, view visits, whatever.
Yeah.
But of course, through this structure, so because with this button, might be there's do action, or there's this record that we were here, because that, for instance, might update this table with this visit time column, for instance.
Yeah.
Or we could say, actually, we could also have a button maybe that says, skip this POI at this time, whatever, and that could, for instance, set this as skip flag.
Yeah.
So, or at the same time, we could also just tell that if the visit time was blank, then they skip it. So exactly as you say, all the different ways of doing it. I think so. At the moment, what we would probably do is we would probably we'll just have to look at the way that we can directly interact from the browser with the camera on the phone, because it may be that at the moment they just have to. It might be that has to be a sort of secondary process once you finish and sitting back at your desk. I don't know. We can.
So you take photographs, and then when you get back to your desk, you upload them at this stage.
Potentially. Obviously, hopefully not. It just depends mainly about how all the security permissions work on the phones, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
So we can experiment with that, because of course we can upload files. That's no problem. It's just, does the phone operating system
allow you to
exactly?
Yeah.
So that's how it would then all work. Yeah.
Perfect.
Very good.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording now.
Yeah, do that.